Happy holidays, brief nerds, if that's what we call our audience. We haven't quite got there yet, but we will someday. But for now, this is the Brief Nerdy Podcast. I am your host. My name is Ryan. Joining me once again is my good friend and always co-host, Trent.
Hello.
And our other good friend and co-host, Erik.
Hi.
How are you all doing?
Good.
Excellent.
It's December 11th. We are almost halfway to Christmas from December 1st.
I was like, Mer? Yes, and we are, 3 days away from Star Wars?
What? 3 days? That's crazy. I have not put myself on a social media, I don't want to say
Blackout.
Boycott or blackout, just extreme reduction.
Yep, me too. I'm staying away from every news site I can think of that might post a even slightly spoilerish thing or like the new ad drops. Like I've had to really get mad at YouTube here lately and be like, no, stop it. I don't want to see every new TV spot that comes up.
Yep. But
I'm excited.
We'll talk about Star Wars a little bit later. But first, tonight we have a good show for you tonight. We're going to talk about gatekeeping, quote unquote, with nerddom. We're going to talk about the Game Awards and Game of the Year awards in general. But first, our round robin. And we already made it to what I talked about earlier. The thing we're excited, or the thing we hope to see most and are most excited for in Star Wars, The Last Jedi, which comes out in 3 days.
Yay.
So who would like to go first?
I will, I suppose.
Okay.
I think the thing that I've been waiting the longest to see is Luke and what he will do. And I am hopeful. I'm a little bit scared because of the trailers, but I'm hoping that that's just a big bait and switch thing going on. And so I want to see Luke in his element with his lightsaber, kicking some First Order butt, and just being his awesome self. So that's mine.
I hope you don't consider this a spoiler, because I do not, and it has nothing to do with the plot of the movie whatsoever. It's more kind of just Disney behind the scenes stuff. But Disney submitted all their Academy Award nominee requests, so to speak. The person they are presenting to for their consideration, so to speak. And the only person they did was Mark Hamill.
Whoa, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive.
So that made me even more excited to see Luke than I already was.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's crazy. Erik, what about you?
I don't know.
You want to see lightsabers and porgs? And Jar Jar.
I am also excited that they're tying Luke back in. I feel like, to me, it's always been more of his story than anything else. So the episodes 1, 2, and 3, and then the recent stuff here, it just hasn't been as big a deal to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see where, from my perspective, the original Jedi is going.
Nice. I am going to take a weird turn here, and it's something I would say I'm most excited, or something I hope to see, because that's the direction I'm going to go with it. Because my number one would probably be Luke, as well as you guys. But something I hope to see, and not because I want it to happen, but because it will probably make me cry emotionally. In the new canon, they've talked a lot about how a red lightsaber crystal is created, so to speak. In the old Legends extended universe, the red lightsaber crystals for the Sith were synthesized. They weren't real crystals, because a crystal wouldn't call out to a Sith to be chosen.
Sithicized?
Yes. But in the new canon, it's been established that in order for a Sith to get his or her red lightsaber crystal, they have to steal a lightsaber from a Jedi by killing a Jedi, and then they hold the crystal in their hands and they focus all of their anger and their hatred and all those other fun dark side feelings into the palm of their hand by squeezing it in their fist, and it bleeds the crystal because the crystal is a semi-sentient living thing, and so it basically corrupts and turns the crystal to be an evil force, so to speak, and that's what turns it red. There's been a few times this happened in the current canon. When the Inquisitors does it, I won't get into too many because of the spoilers, but Darth Vader shortly at the end of after Episode 3 does it, when he's crafting his own red lightsaber for the first time. And so something I hope to see, but again, not because I want it to happen, but we know from the trailers that at some point Rey is captured by Snoke, so to speak, if the trailers are to be believed. And so I would assume that Anakin's lightsaber, our favorite blue lightsaber, will be in the hands of Snoke and or Kylo Ren. And especially since Kylo wants that lightsaber due to its heritage of being, Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader's old lightsaber. And so corrupting it or its crystal, I feel would have a huge emotional impact on me just due to the history of that lightsaber, to see it destroyed and corrupted and turned dark. So
that is interesting.
So oddly specific, and again, it's something I don't want to happen because it's the blue lightsaber. But I would be like so emotionally gut punched that it would be something really neat to see.
Very nice.
Sorry, that was a tangent.
No, you're good. I mean, of course, on top of all that, I want to see the thing I think I'm most interested in is seeing what they do with Princess Leia's storyline.
Yeah.
That makes me very nervous and sad and scared.
I'm not any of those things. I think out of everything that they could possibly do, they'll do right by her.
Well, no, I'm sure they will. I'm just saying that, like, the story itself could be any of those things.
Yeah, it's true.
So.
Well, good stuff. Let's hop right into what we playing. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about Star Wars next week. We might just do a full-fledged spoiler cast, so be on the lookout for that. But let's get to what we playing. Trent, what you playing?
So I've got back into RimWorld here recently, and I've been modding it up like usual, playing a Star Wars mod as the base one, and then a bunch of other kind of like quality of life mods.
The mod doesn't have any Last Jedi spoilers, does it?
No, it's very there's no story content at all. It's just your little colonist dudes can be force sensitive as one of their random traits, and so then they have like force powers, and then they put Empire and Rebel factions on the planet with you that you can interact with, and like just stuff like that. So it's fun. I really enjoy it. I'll let Erik talk more about it because he actually is getting into it for the first time, and I'm really excited to hear his perspective.
Ooh, do tell, Erik.
It just got in. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I've been in Discord chat when people are playing it, and I keep saying this sounds like a really fun game, and then I go and look at it, and it's $40. I'm not sure it sounds like that much fun, and so I never bought it. And they were playing it again, talking about it, and I went and looked, and this time it was $30, so I went ahead and got it. It's so in depth. There's so many little things that just make it more fun.
Yes.
So explain RimWorld to me. I don't know if I didn't know anything about it, which I may or may not.
The traditional RimWorld experience, there's a couple different ways to start, but the traditional one is you crash land with 3 survivors of a spaceship wreck, and you give them general orders like here's what I want you to be working towards, but they go about their day as they want with those things in mind. Sometimes they'll get bored and go off and build a snowman or play some horseshoes, and each character has different traits, good and bad, and you have to manage those. And if you don't have the resources or you don't pay attention, then they can have a mental break and just start wrecking your stuff. So it's resource management, survival, and base building
So
altogether.
Anakin Skywalker, very powerful in the Force, but allergic to sand. Can't walk on any sand.
Right, exactly.
Oh, cool. Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. So you can set up general. It's a colony management game. The goal is to either uh, like caravan your way to a spaceship that you know is on the planet and escape, or build your own and then escape the planet. That's technically the quote unquote end game goal. But you can do literally anything you want with it. You can set up a city and control their production. You can give people different types of jobs and what based on their skills and what they're good at, and they can get better at a thing the more they do it. Stuff like that.
Cool. Well, for me, what I've been playing Dead Rising 4. Now, this came out last December. For those you don't know, Dead Rising is a zombie game made by Capcom. It's more of just kind of a fun sandbox environment with a mild story. You could pick up hundreds of different things across the world. I mean, you could pick up a chair, you could pick up a random baseball, you could pick up a plunger if you go to the bathroom. You could grab it, and you could hit zombies or shoot zombies with pretty much anything you could find. And it takes place in a mall usually, so there's obviously tons and tons of different types of stores and things to grab and play with. And you could combine things to create just ridiculous things. And this is the fourth one in the series. I didn't get it when it first came out last year's because this is the first recent one to not have any co-op play, and the campaign co-op is extremely fun to play. And so since it didn't have co-op, I decided to pass on it initially, but got it on a sale in the middle of the year. And because this one is very, very Christmas themed, it takes place, after Black Friday, and the mall is very Christmassy themed, and a lot of zombies are wearing elf costumes and things like that. So it's the perfect game to play in the holidays. I'm probably about.
Is there
was that?
zombie Santa?
Yes.
Yes.
I've been really, really enjoying it. I mean, besides the lack of co-op, it's definitely the most polished and most crazy one to date. Why can't I think of his name? He's the green electric guy in Street Fighter. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Blanca?
Yeah, Blanca. Yeah. There's a Blanca mask in one of the shops, and with like the Hulk gloves with his hands, and I picked it up and then combined it with a car battery, and then it made my hands like electric, like Blanca. And so I was like just doing Blanca attacks on like a bunch of zombies. And then I attached a thing of liquid nitrogen to a katana sword, and I had this giant ice sword I was slashing zombies up with and stuff. So there's dozens of different combinations you could do to create just fun and unique ways to kill the zombies as you go through the story. So again, and there's thousands and thousands of zombies to kill. I literally think I have killed 20,000 zombies so far.
That's super fun.
Because it has a little counter at the bottom left that always goes up every time you kill a zombie. So yeah, it's way fun though. Get me in the holiday spirit.
Nice.
As far as what I've watched, the only thing really of note is that I did end up seeing Disaster Artist this weekend. That's the movie that's based on a true story of the creating of the movie The Room. I really enjoyed it. I didn't realize how as much of a drama it was going to be. I mean, it was definitely funny, but because it had the Franco brothers and Seth Rogen, and then talking about the creating of this ridiculous movie that I absolutely love, of The Room. It had a lot more drama than I thought, and a lot more like charming and heartwarming narrative in it. So I wasn't expecting that, but I still ended up really, really enjoying it. I highly recommend it. And James Franco just outdid himself. He became Tommy Wiseau. It was surreal to see, to say the least. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, he was very good. Trent, what about you?
So this last week I binged season 4 of House of Cards, which was fun, I guess.
That was a good season.
I liked it. It was, I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously I finished it all in 1 week, so I mean, how bad could it be?
Yeah.
But it, I feel like the pattern that's following is getting a little stale. It's pretty much the same thing. Like, you know, they have this problem or this goal, and they do these things to achieve it, and they're usually terribly ruthless or illegal or both. And it's like, oh, how long can they get away with not having the truth come out? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So,
If I remember correctly, that season started like the election season too, right?
it went into the general election.
Yeah.
The primary started the end of season 3.
Right.
But yeah, they're into the general. They're like 3 weeks from the general election at the end of season 4.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that was one of the problems when I saw that season, because it was right in the middle of the 2016 elections.
Yeah.
No, I was already sick of real life elections at that point. So
there's so many parallels to like the current election. It's kind of crazy, which they couldn't have done it on purpose because like they didn't know exactly who was running at the time.
Yeah, there's some fun statements from the cast and crew about that.
Right. So that's interesting. So
you gonna do season 5 soon, or?
I started the first episode. I'm kind of putting it on hold right now because I'm in the middle of moving across the country again. So I'm just trying to keep up with, like, I think I'm 3 or 4 shows to catch up on CW stuff to hit the mid-season finales. But yeah, probably over the holidays, I'll probably do season 5.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Erik, what about you?
Last time I was on here, I mentioned that I was looking forward to RWBY coming back. Well, now it's back.
Woo!
So I've been watching that. Happy with this season. A lot of people are complaining with this season because there's not as much action, not as much fighting, and that's certainly what it's known for. But I like the plot development too.
What season is this now?
5. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, it's not as far as I thought.
And each season is what, like 2 hours long?
Yeah, around that.
Okay.
Do they do just like Red versus Blue, where they release it in like 5 to 7 increments?
Yeah, they're a little bit longer this season. I think 12 is the shortest, and we've had up to 18. But they're certainly not long.
Nice.
Very cool. Glad you're enjoying it. It's on my short list. I still need to catch up on Red versus Blue, though. I'm like 4 seasons behind on that. Not as bad as some, but
yeah, and I don't even know what season we're on, so I have no idea how far behind I am.
I think we're on 14 or 15 at this point.
It's been a while.
I stopped after 10, and it's been several years. So
yeah, I'm excited about RWBY. What I've seen the first season, right?
Yeah, I think we were moving through season 2 when you got distracted.
Yeah, I'll come back to it at some point.
Someday.
Someday when I have all the time in the world.
All right, well, let's get into the main section of the podcast here. Trent, why don't you introduce our first topic?
So this was I think a Variety article. It was talking specifically about Star Trek. And they brought up the kind of the fan reactions to Discovery and whatnot. Let me see if I can bring it. Okay, sci-fiwire.com. Sorry, not Variety. It's the article is titled "The Problem of Gatekeeping in Star Trek Fandom," and they talk a lot about the very polarized reaction to the new Star Trek series, Discovery. And how some people are saying, like, this is really fun. I'm excited. I'm happy that Star Trek is back online and stuff. And then you have other people in the fandom that are like, this is crap. This isn't Star Trek. That they ruined this and this, and they changed this and this, so it can't possibly be Star Trek. And if you like it, then you're stupid and blah 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 blah. So they talk a lot about like what it means to be a real fan, quote unquote, and like, do we have the right to exclude other people who like the same thing that we do, but in a different way or a different amount. So I thought that would be kind of an interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah, it's a really, really great topic. I love that you picked this one. And to kind of compare it, I guess, to Star Wars. it's actually been kind of a big movement in Star Wars over the past few years. Not sure how aware you are of it, but it's kind of along the same lines. Is that, you know, a lot of around the time of the Disney buyout of Lucasfilm, you know, there's a lot of new Star Wars fans, and you know, a lot of new fans with the new movies and things like that. And so they kind of start defining, well, what does it mean to be a Star Wars fan?
Yeah.
And you know, what does that mean? Does that mean you have to be like me, where you read every book, every comic, watch every episode of every TV show, and watch all the movies, you know, yada yada yada? Like, is that the bar? Do I look at someone like Erik who loves Star Wars, obviously, but is not into it as much, and be like, well, you're not a Star Wars fan. Did you even read Lost Stars? Like, is that a Star Wars fan? Or is anyone who sees anything related to Star Wars and enjoys it a Star Wars fan?
Yes. What do you think, Erik?
Yes. It's. I kind of see more to it than that. I mean, yes, there are certainly the people who are not helping the fandom at all. They're just attacking other people. That's problematic. But let's take an analogy. If someone comes up to you and says, "I'm a runner," that has a certain connotation to it, right? I mean, it's not just, "Oh, I go to the treadmills and run once a week." You think when they say, "I'm a runner," that it means something more. And I think that the more hardcore fans are worried that the meaning is being diluted by other people calling themselves fans.
I could see people thinking that, but I think they're wrong in thinking that. Personally.
How do you have a distinction then? I mean, do you have to compare credentials to know what it means when somebody says they're a fan?
Well, I think just the opposite. I think no matter what credentials or history they have with Star Wars, if they consider themselves a Star Wars fan, then by all means they're a Star Wars fan. You know, I don't care if they've only seen Force Awakens and they're like, I really like Star Wars. Star Wars is great. I'm a Star Wars fan. Then I think that they deserve that title just as much as anyone else.
But that's taking that the title is in and of itself the goal. To me, the use of the word is. I mean, there is not a serviceable use of the word at that point. I mean, you're just saying that if you have any interest in it, you can be a fan, which I am fine with, except why bother labeling yourself a fan at that point? What does it mean?
If it brings you comfort. I mean,
Right. I mean,
I've seen the Lord of the Rings movies and I enjoy them, but I definitely wouldn't call myself a Lord of the Rings fan.
At that point, it's just saying I want to call myself a fan because it makes me feel good, which, again, I mean, that's not inherently a bad thing. It just makes the word less defined, I think.
Yeah, for me, and I understand what both sides of this are saying, but there's no way that I can think of to distinguish between like someone like Ryan, someone like me, and someone like you, for example. Like all three of us have different levels of Star Wars involvement at this point, mainly because I'm way behind on a lot of content. But like, is Ryan more of a Star Wars fan than me? I don't know. I mean, by the number of books he's read, yes. But
Yeah.
it's hard to put a qualification on how much you like something or how much you love something. I mean, like I've been a Star Wars fan since the first time I saw the movies way back when. And to me, the real, like you're talking about a use for the word, it's to separate you from people who don't like Star Wars. And
Yeah.
to me, it's unifying with, like my nephew who's only seen some of the more recent movies, he loves Star Wars. Like, I'm not going to tell him like, no, you don't like Star Wars enough because you haven't read these books. To me, that just seems negative for no reason.
Yeah.
Right. No, I also don't think that there's any point in telling someone they're not a fan. I mean, what purpose does that serve?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's the key there. I feel, and that's kind of just the root, I guess, of the movement within the Star Wars fandom. And even though not all of them are doing it, obviously, but the big push is to be inclusive. Whether someone is a brand new fan to Star Wars or they've been watching the movies since 1977, is to be inclusive and respectful of everybody's level of fandom and their favorite things within the fandom. Like, I listened to a whole podcast to where they had a guest on, one of their personal friends who was a medium high Star Wars fan, I would label them, but Jar Jar Binks was legitimately their favorite character, and she started crying at one point of like how much like abuse she had received from other Star Wars fans because she saw Jar Jar Binks as a kid and loved Jar Jar Binks and still loves Jar Jar Binks to this day. When anyone asks, "Oh, who's your favorite Star Wars character?" He says Jar Jar Binks. It's not all, but a ton of bullying and ridicule. And though we may not agree with her, with her opinion, but we could still love and respect her opinion and love for the series. No matter where it stands.
Yeah, I was watching Return of the Jedi just last night actually with some family. And my cousin's kids were like making fun of the Ewoks, and I was like, "Oh, I like the Ewoks. I don't care if it doesn't make sense. Like, leave them alone." That's always funny to me, especially like I've met some Star Wars fans who are huge into the Old Republic era, and outside of the games, the two games that I've played in that era, I've never been a fan of that era. Like, I've never read the books. I have no idea like the different histories and stuff. To me, Star Wars has always been like Episode 4 and on.
Yeah.
In the Legends, especially. So that's when I like became a huge into the books and stuff. But I've never like told that person like, oh, you're dumb for not liking Episode 4 era instead. But
are you talking about me?
no, actually, I'm talking about someone else in mind. But I guess it fits for you too.
I don't dislike the
Like,
post Return of the Jedi era.
You like all of it. So
but
he only liked pre Episode 1 stuff.
I do love the Old Republic stuff though.
I know.
Yeah, just the games and the Darth Bane trilogy.
You are a huge Revan fanboy, which I will never understand.
But
it's That's okay. I love you for it.
He'll have his return to canon again soon.
Well, I mean, it's Snoke, right?
Yep, Revan is Snoke. So yeah, good discussion. Anything else anyone wants to add?
Nope. I think I would just. I guess yes.
Nope. Proceeds to talk about that.
Here's this point. I just kind of putting a cap on everything we've already said. The fandoms are about expressing love and appreciation for a thing, and finding other people who share that love and excitement about a thing. And so, like, even if you're not to the same level as somebody else, like, you shouldn't be afraid to say that I like this thing.
Yep. Be loving and inclusive, no matter what the fandom is.
Yes.
So telling other Star Trek fans they're stupid for liking the new Star Trek is bad.
Right. And it's totally okay to not like the new Star Trek.
100% okay.
If it's something that if it doesn't gel for you, awesome. Just, don't watch it and express your opinion respectfully.
And constructively.
And constructively, yeah. And we're all good.
Right, Erik?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, with that being said, let's move on to our next and final topic of the week. Well, I guess before we get into our listener questions, but the Game Awards were this week, gentlemen. Did either of you watch it?
I did not.
No.
I saw a Zachary Levi section that was funny.
That was pretty funny.
So, slight tangent, but are either of you Psych fans?
No.
Okay, so the Psych movie just came out, and I'm not a huge fan, but I've enjoyed it, so I watched it. I was like, hey, this villain, he's got a British accent, sounds a lot like Spike, but he looks like Zachary Levi. And so I try to find him, and IMDb doesn't have it because it's a made-for-TV movie that just came out. And so I go searching around the internet. It is Zachary Levi doing a British accent.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
It was amazing. It is one of my favorite things.
I might need to watch the movie now, even though I've never seen the show.
That's awesome. I've seen the first couple seasons of the show. It just got kind of repetitive after that.
Yeah, I'm aware of the show and like have been in the room a few times while others watched it, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah, some of our roommates were huge into it back in college.
Yeah, the movie was basically just a long episode. It was not what a lot of people were expecting. There were a lot of disappointed fans, but I thought it was fun.
Nice.
So going back to the Game Awards, there's a lot of awards given out that night. Kind of just briefly go over them. They gave Game of the Year to Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Not a big surprise there. Best Narrative went to What Remains of Edith Finch. I'm going to get back to that in a second. Best Art Direction went to Cuphead. Go Cuphead. Hellblade got Best Audio Design. Horizon Zero Dawn got Best Performance. Overwatch got Best Ongoing Game. Cuphead got Best Independent Game. And I won't go through all of them, but there's a lot of good categories and a lot of deserving winners in here, even though I would have chose Mario Odyssey, but that's okay. The point that I kind of wanted to get across for our topic of discussion here, and something that I really, really love about Game of the Year awards, and at least discussions of the nominees and things like that, is that for me, it gives me a whole new palette of great games to play. I've told the story in the podcast before, so I'll keep it brief. But Bloodborne, I believe it came out in 2015. It came out, and I saw like a trailer for it, and I was like, whatever. And then after it came out, people were like, oh, it's a Dark Souls game, basically. And I was like, don't really care about Dark Souls games. Never played one before. Yada yada yada. And then it kind of left my radar. I think it came out in February of that year, so it came out relatively early. It totally left my radar. I didn't even plan on playing it to begin with. But then when Game of the Year discussions began coming up, its name was constantly mentioned. I don't think it ended up winning, but it was on almost every major publication that I looked at's list, and anyone who was arguing for it always gave a really, really good argument. And I was like, man, I don't even really know what this game is, because I know Dark Souls games are hard, but besides that, I don't really know much about them. But I was like, man, I really need to kind of try this game. And so early the next year in 2016, it was on sale for like $15, and so I picked it up and I bought it, and it was in one of the top games I played that year, and just a masterpiece in gaming. And that's happened several times. That's just one of the stories, but it's happened several times. So I'm happy that out of this year's Game Awards and just Game of the Year award nominations from lots of different publications, I have a growing list of games that I need to play. Trent, you mentioned Persona 5 a few months ago that like, hey, have you played this? And I was like, nah, I tend not to enjoy JRPGs, but just the talk and discussion that's surrounding this game and the people who enjoy it that don't normally enjoy JRPGs, and them saying like, any other year that like Zelda Breath of the Wild came out, this would have just swept the Game of the Year awards, And so that it brings these things up to my attention that I'm like, okay, I guess I really need to play this game. And also, especially for the indie scene, let's see, where was it? What Remains of Edith Finch? I had never heard of this game before. And then it was nominated for Best Narrative and then won for Best Narrative. I looked up a trailer, looked up a little bit of impressions for the game, and it's just an indie title that basically I need to play, and I think I'm going to really, really love. And we all know how much I love narratives in games. So they put 3 or 4 indies on my radar, and so I'm very excited, once I finish Dead Rising 4 to dive in and play some of these, masterpieces that I missed out on earlier this year. So
that's really cool.
Has that happened for either of you before or anything like that?
Not really.
Not really.
Not really.
I don't tend to follow social media regarding games when it comes right down to it. I get reviews from my friends and see what they're playing, like with RimWorld. I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't go seeking out new games. I didn't say, hey, I need something new to play. And part of that is just that my gaming habits involve long duration games like League of Legends. So I don't often find myself needing something new. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool. How about you,
Not
Trent?
the way I get new games.
That's totally okay.
I have in the past found certain games that did really well in the awards scene that I'd never heard of before, and I was like, oh, I mean, that looks interesting. To me, it still comes down to like if it's like if I happen not to have heard about it and then it looks good for me, then I'll play it. Like if I had already heard about it and it got a big award and I didn't think it looked fun, it probably is not going to sway me a whole lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then that's the case where I'll take kind of friend opinions and like reviews and stuff more into consideration, because it's like I thought Fortnite looked really silly when I first saw it, but after a bunch of my friends are like, "No, you got to come play this; it's really fun," and so for the battle royale stuff anyway, it ended up being really awesome because I hate PvP shooters, and so I thought I was gonna be like, "Oh, this game's gonna be terrible."
Yeah.
For me, but yeah. So it is a way that I can find new titles. So
Yeah, Ori and the Blind Forest was another one. When it came out and I saw trailers for it and people kind of described it, I'm like, oh, it's just another like Metroidvania clone. You know, I love Metroidvanias, but there's so many of them.
Yeah.
Especially in the indie sense. And so, but the overwhelming love around award seasons for Ori, put it on my radar, and then very, very happy that it did.
Yeah. And using that as an example, you put that on my radar.
Yep. So it's a trickle-down effect, trickle-down economics. It works. Wink,
You
wink.
must play this game. And I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah, it happens.
But it was good. I'm glad I did.
Yeah. So I love award season. I look forward to, I'm sure like my discovering of new games hasn't even begun yet. So especially in the indie sense. So I look forward to playing what remains of Edith Finch and Persona 5.
That's awesome.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into our only listener question this week. Trent, why don't you take this one?
Yeah. So this comes to us from Ben Helmers. It says, Game of the Year contenders and holiday game / nerdy purchase ideas.
Erik, what are your Game of the Year contenders?
Oh.
Have you played any games that came out this year?
Well, and I'll add a little asterisk to mine. I do my Game of the Year contenders differently. If it's a game that I played for the first time this year, no matter when it came out, I count it. So you could use that logic if you like to.
So Destiny's the big title that I picked up this year.
Mm-hmm.
All of my VR playing has been this year.
I was really trying to figure out like which or how to include VR games with mine, because there's so many of them, and some of them are just like little small like half-hour experiences,
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, what do I? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, let me think for a second. What do we got? I would say in VR, there are things that can make it a contender that would not normally, because the overall experience benefits from it in a way that you wouldn't consider. For example, Audio Shield is one of my favorite VR games, and it's super simple. A song plays in the background, and it kind of sort of generates the beats that are flying at you, and you block them with your gauntlets. But the natural feeling of it, I would say, makes it a top contender for a VR game of the year, because you don't have to think about it. People that don't play games can strap these wristbands on and play, and it makes sense.
Can you play like any song, or do they have something like, oh my gosh, I need this game?
You can YouTube it, you can pull it off your computer.
I need this game. Let's talk later.
So I'm gonna go with that one for my game of the year, just because It's nothing absolutely amazing, but for what it does it really well and in a way I really enjoy.
Good. I'm glad. I really need to try that. It sounds fantastic.
So it's like DDR meets Fruit Ninja
Kind of, yeah.
in
It's
VR.
a good description. Good description. Well, for mine, for our common listeners, it's no secret that Mario Odyssey is my game of the year. It's probably my favorite game since the Mass Effect trilogy. So my favorite game probably in the past 5 years or so. So it wins nonetheless. So I still like to put together my top 5 and bottom 5 games of the year. Some of my top 5s include Shovel Knight, Plague of Shadows, Resident Evil 7, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Prey, Mario plus Rabbids, Metroid Samus Returns, and a few others like VR games like Accounting and Doom VFR. So I'm going to, before the end of the year, when we do our actual, hey, these are our top 5 games or whatever we decide to do on the podcast, I'll need to put them in the right order and pick the 4 that go below Mario Odyssey there. So looking forward to that. It's always a fun time of year for me.
Nice.
What about you, Trent?
I would say that I'm going back and forth on this because Mario is a lot of fun, and I haven't beaten it yet, so I don't feel like I've got a perfect view of it yet. One game that I did play and finish, rather like from start to finish in a week or two, was the new XCOM 2 expansion.
Oh yeah,
and that I think has given me the most amount of fun this year. From the character customization options to all the new like level and boss and enemy types, and just like because it used to be like there was one really good way to play through that game, and kind of like this is the meta you should follow. And the expansion really gave a ton of freedom and different options. Like there were guns and stuff that I didn't even research because that doesn't really seem like my style. But it's a whole different avenue that someone else could have taken and achieved similar results. And so it was super fun.
that's way awesome. I know you really, really enjoyed it. You were very hardcore into it for several weeks.
Yes, it was very fun. So that's definitely my game of the year. I know I don't know if it really counts because it's an expansion to an already existing game, but they added so much stuff to it that
Mm-hmm.
it was like playing a brand new XCOM game.
And that's beautiful. That's always perfect when that happens.
Yeah.
So he also asked. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say some of my other contenders obviously is Mario, Zelda, Mario Rabbids, Mario Kart 8 on the Switch. A lot of Switch titles. I played a lot of the Switch this year, and I'm really happy about it because
Switch was an A+ console this year.
Yeah. So in terms of new games, because on the PC I've just been revisiting a lot of games. Like I played a lot of Stellaris, RimWorld, Civ 6. Did Civ 6 come out this year or last year?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. That's a good one too.
Well, Sims Cats and Dogs came out this year. That counts.
That's true, which I've played a little bit and also really enjoy. So yeah, there you go. So what was the other part of the question again?
Holiday game / nerd purchase ideas.
So one that I saw today that I thought was really cool on a Star Wars show thing on Facebook. It's a droid builder kit from Walmart.
I saw that.
It looks so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might get one for my nephew if no one else is getting it for him already.
Yeah.
Or my niece, whichever one wants to play with it more. There's just comes with different parts, and you build a droid, and then you assemble like the remote control stuff, and just the different things that people made with them that they were showing on this video I watched was super cute.
Yeah, they all come with Raspberry Pis, I think.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Why couldn't we have this stuff when we were kids?
Yeah, so like your kids can like learn how to program and stuff on a very basic level. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I think the stuffed Porg should be. No.
What's the Crystal Fox things like Vulpix or something?
Vulpix.
Yeah, that I want a stuffed version of that.
So your team Vulpix?
Oh yeah.
There's a team Porg versus team Vulpix going on. Thing. So
the Porgs are cute, but the Crystal Fox are just so cool looking.
Yeah.
So.
For me, my real one, I'm gonna have to say the SNES Classic. If you could find one. What was it?
I was like, can you still buy one?
They're more available. Doesn't mean like you could find one easily, but people have been reporting going at Target and just seeing like 5 on a shelf now, like in the middle of the day. Not very often, I'm sure, but it's been reported. So it's more available than the NES Classic was, at least. So
Yeah.
I still say that not a more perfect collection of games in one pack exists on this earth right now. And so, especially for anyone younger who may not have played these games before, like I said, I'm giving mine to my nephews, so they've never played all these classics before, and as well as and the parents can sit down and enjoy it too because their parents obviously played them growing up as well. So I think it's the perfect nerdy gift to give this Christmas or holidays.
Nice. What about you, Erik?
I mean, it really depends on what kind of nerd they are when it comes right down to it.
No, there's only one type of nerd ever. Not inclusive.
So I'm getting a gift for my brother this year. My family does, one person so that you can kind of concentrate more of a meaningful gift instead of something that'll be eaten that day. And I was thinking, okay, what do I get him? I mean, he's got a computer. He buys all the games he wants. What is good to get him that he doesn't already have? And I ended up going with a Kindle because there are a lot of people that thoroughly enjoy reading that never just got around to getting themselves an e-reader.
There you go.
So. I mean, by some definitions, that could be the ultimate nerdy gift because it transforms you into a billion worlds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't use mine as much as I would like to because I just don't sit down to read nearly as much as I used to. But when I do, I love my Kindle Paperwhite that I have. What kind are you getting him?
The basic model.
Oh, okay, cool.
This podcast is brought to you by Kindle and a product by Amazon and by Nintendo, the Super Nintendo NES or Classic Edition. No better holiday gift for your nerdy friends.
But yeah.
Now you just need to ask them if they'll pay you for that.
Hey, if I say it, it happens. That's how it works, right?
Yep, it's brought to you by them. So it's false advertising if they don't pay us.
Mm-hmm.
Or something
Bait
like
and
that.
switch and other terms like that.
Yeah, so that's there's a lot of really great toys. I was walking around Target today, just getting some stuff for my trip, and I was looking around, and there's a BB-8 like beanbag, like plushie thing, and that I wanted to buy, and there's like.
Oh, imagine a love sack size BB-8.
Oh, that'd be so cute. And then just all kinds of different like Star Wars toys and Lego like some of the Legos that were on the shelves look so cool. I was like, I want to buy all the Legos.
Legos are expensive.
Yes, there's a lot of good gifts that you can find out there for this holiday.
Do you have really any troubles finding a gift for a nerdy person? I mean, don't want to be a shill here, but just think geek.com. I mean, if you can't find something on there for them then I don't know what to tell you.
The one thing I would make sure, though, is, yes, ThinkGeek has a great collection of geek and nerd gifts in one spot, which no one else really does, but they also tend to overprice them. So go there, search around, find a few fun things, and then go see if you can find them cheaper somewhere else.
Rare words have never been spoken.
No, that's funny. So yeah, I guess I can recommend for any Star Trek fans, my little Borg Cube mini fridge. I have loved that thing to death. So I recommend that to everybody as well. It actually, I realized, comes with a car adapter. So I'm going to plug it in for my trip so that I can keep my drinks cold while I'm driving.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
It's something to be pretty excited about. So, well played, sir. Well played.
Thank you.
All right, Trent, do you want to take us out?
Sure. Well, thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Brief Nerdity podcast. I'd like to thank Erik for joining us this week. And as always, reach out to us on our social media platforms. Go to briefnerdity.com to check out our website and briefnerdity.com/iTunes to check out our iTunes feed. you'd like to leave us a comment or a rating, we would love it. And we'd just love to hear from you. So thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
Something Star Wars this way comes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.